After we announced my pregnancy, jealous Sil mocked my husband's party. It went horribly wrong, and she's going to jail and divorcing. Harry, 29F, and I married 7 years ago. I adore everything about our marriage except that he married his sister Kayla, who continually hurts us. Even though I adored Kayla when I met her, I've changed my opinion. She is evil and dishonest. Since I know her personality, I've worked hard for years to keep out of her way. Previously, my husband dated Sil's closest friend at 17. They broke up because he thought Sil forced him to be with her. When he turned 23, he was single. He refused his sister's invitation to join her friends. They clashed often, and she cried to their parents about wanting him to marry someone she liked. She was ignored by his parents. When I met my husband and fell in love, his parents were great. However, Sil was always chilly to me. When I was around, she would talk about Harry's ex-girlfriends or boyfriends for no reason and praise them. He should contact them again. This continued, and I wasn't the only one who found it odd. Harry agreed, so he told her to stop talking about his ex-girlfriends. Sil would tease me about being jealous, and how he shouldn't be with someone like me who was insecure when he got upset. For Harry's parents' dinners, we always brought one of his ex-girlfriends, and Sil would say she met them by mistake that day. To be courteous, I invited them to dinner. She stalks my Instagram even though she doesn't follow me. My public account shows she's the first someone to read my story. If a male comments on my photo, she'll tell her brother I'm posting improper photos. She stated those things and Harry and I laughed so hard. When Harry and I moved in together, she told Harry I'm a nasty woman and she could find someone much better. We split. I regretted saying that because I had always been nice to her. Unfortunately, Sil's treatment of me worsened after Harry and I got engaged. When Harry and I announced our marriage, everyone was pleased. I saw Kayla was silent. She got up from her chair and departed the party, surprising everyone. After screaming and crying on the phone to Harry, she said she didn't like hearing the news with everyone else. Because she thought she should have heard of his engagement first since they were close. She sent me a semi-threatening mail afterward. Being the only woman her brother had ever known, she advised me to be a good wife. Very weird message, almost laughed out loud. I ignored her. I left a message at the scene, which probably heated her up. Sil stopped noticing me over time. For whatever reason, she attended all wedding events like dress shopping and my wedding shower. She criticized the wedding and told me she didn't like my choices. She ignored my future mother-in-law and fiancé's repeated warnings to quit. One day, Kayla heard me and my future mother-in-law discussing the centerpiece. She laughed at me immediately, saying my decision was classless and she wanted her brother to marry someone better. That broke me, and I lost it. I yelled at her that I couldn't take her insults and criticism and told her she wasn't welcome at our wedding. Kayla gasped, as if she never thought I would challenge her. Even my mother-in-law was upset at her and supported me. Kayla called Harry later to say to him that I hurt her and that he should control me as his wife. Harry made it clear that he supported my decision and that she would not be invited to the wedding unless she apologized. I didn't read her sincere apology because I didn't want to. I was exhausted from wedding preparations and didn't want to become engaged in her problems. Because I didn't want her to criticize us, she attended our wedding. The theme of my wedding was pinks and pastels, and all my guests seemed easy to follow, but not Sil. Like a funeral, she wore a black floor-length dress with a veil. We were stunned. Sil told everyone she was unhappy since her brother died with another lady. My husband informed Sil she wore the incorrect outfit to the reception since he could tell I didn't like it. She claimed she could wear whatever she wanted and that I was being unreasonable. Because she wouldn't stop complaining, Mill and Phil told her to leave. Since that day, seeing her again is impossible. Once I had my kid Nate, I wouldn't let Sil stand behind our kid. She fought it, but my husband and parents supported me. They understood why I didn't want Sil near my baby and appreciated my decision. 2 years ago, Sil and her partner Jamie miscarried. She was heartbroken. Everyone was sad. We felt awful for her after she lost one child because Harry and I had one. We went further in forgiveness. She could get to know our son Nate better if we welcomed her around. Her kindness to our son surprised me, even though she's cruel to me. She initially altered, then she returned to her old self. She was before. She continually complains about her life and how nothing goes right. She attributes her problems to ex-friends and bosses. I've seen her always think she's correct. She rarely apologizes and always tries to win people over by acting victimized. She invited everyone but us to her wedding this year. Harry was surprised we weren't asked despite our improving relationship. When we inquired, she told I couldn't come because I may ruin her wedding. I called her and asked what made her think that since I never hurt her. After Kayla said, "She wore all black to our wedding because she didn't want me to do the same." I immediately informed my spouse I thought she was very aggressive and was angry. After Harry discussed the wedding with his parents, they informed SIL that they would neither attend or pay for it. SIL cried and blamed me for the mess. My husband said she had recognized her mistake and had no right to criticize me. Kayla told me to forget about our wedding because it was so long ago. Later she called to apologize and seek for my forgiveness because Phil and Mill wouldn't pay for her wedding. I hate to say, but Kayla may be kind and aggressive when she wants something. I felt sad for her and wanted to forget. The Jamie wedding went nicely. Everyone enjoyed themselves. Kayla returned to our door only 6 months later to tell us her marriage was ending. Harry and I hosted her for a few days. She griped about her husband for hours. Kayla was clearly blaming Jamie for their inability to conceive. Kayla was sure her spouse was to blame when I tried to talk to her. She was interested in our lives and tried to make up stuff when she wasn't crying about her spouse. I also go to the gym every morning before work. I sometimes bring work attire when I'm late. After working out, I'll take a bath and change into work attire. SIL had seen this for a time and would ask me why I bathed or went to the gym. I wasn't bothered. I'd tell her I appreciated maintaining my weight and not getting sweaty at work. Nodding, she pursed her lips. Jamie and she reconciled and settled back in together. Mill and Phil joined my husband and myself for weekend lunch. Jamie and SIL were welcome. Our son Nate was bored while we talked for hours, so we left him with a babysitter. He wanted to play at home. Mill told us a friend is divorcing. She recounted her friend's husband's infidelity. She departed and took half his money, property. SIL cut her off and asked my husband about a prenup before they married. We set down our lunch to watch her. Instead of looking at me, she watched my husband attentively. My husband is honest, so he told her we didn't need a prenup because we made good money. SIL laughed and said there are many cheaters in the world and he could be caught off guard at any time. I asked her to clarify because her statement was disrespectful. Since I always brought a change of clothes, SIL told me I was meeting Harry's sister. Telling her brother was necessary. Was shocked when I heard them. Phil and Mill quickly advised her to quit lying and keep out of others' affairs. SIL said she was just helping her brother without pause. She joked that Nate didn't look like Harry, so he wasn't his son. I probably noticed my husband's angry face grow red. Never has he been so upset at me. He stared Kayla down and told her she didn't deserve to be a mother and that her child would be better off in heaven than with her. In disbelief, Kayla opened her mouth. Mill and Phil just watched my husband's diatribe against Kayla. He called her shameless and said she attempted to ruin everything because she had nothing positive in her life. A married loser, she did nothing all day while my husband worked hard. He said she should worry about her marriage as she was projecting instead of criticizing me and asking about prenups. Kayla cried and cried and cried. She glanced at Jamie, who was seated next to her to help, but he didn't say anything. Never before has my spouse gone insane. Her time to get up and rush to the bathroom arrived. My spouse raged. Mill helped me rub my husband's hand until he calmed down. He apologized for his sister's comments regarding our son. I agreed since she was annoying. Maybe. Kayla had given me enough crap over the years, so I was delighted my husband stepped out for me publicly. After cooling off, he apologized to Jamie but didn't tell Kayla. After lunch, we didn't talk to Kayla again. Her behavior made my husband and I feel horrible. She couldn't reach us since we blocked her everywhere. Mill and Phil discussed it after lunch. Both thought Kayla went too far this time. They saw their typically quiet son lose it after Kayla pushed him. After talking to her a year ago, things have been good. I discovered my pregnancy 2 months ago. We didn't try, so this is shocking. We appreciate another family member. We waited until my husband's birthday to notify everyone. Since Harry's birthday is coming, Mill, Phil hosted a lavish garden party for him. Close relatives and friends were invited. Someone told Sil about this, so she showed up. My spouse and I were astonished to see her. Harry received a strong hug from Sil. She said she missed him and regretted their previous conversation. My husband took my hand and told his sister to apologize for the negative comments she said about me. Sil grinned, bowed, and apologized. She had been in treatment for months and learned not to mock me. I nodded since I didn't believe what she said and didn't want to be disrespectful in front of everyone. Both Mill and Phil checked on us and said they didn't know she was coming. They also promised. Since it was my husband's party, they'd kick her out if we weren't comfortable. Harry wanted to avoid a fight, so we let it go. It felt odd witnessing Sil laugh and converse to everyone at the party. She seemed too happy, unlike her. I assumed she was telling the truth because she said she was entering therapy. Harry offered a lovely speech on how lucky he was to have me as his wife for another year before cutting the cake. What he said made me blush with joy. It made me pleased that my husband and I were still profoundly in love, exactly like when we started dating years ago. After Harry and I decided to share great news. We cheerfully announced our pregnancy to everyone. They hesitated before proclaiming their joy. My mom sobbed and hugged me. The way Mill and Phil praised Harry and me made them cry. Everyone was happy and asked us soon if we had chosen baby names. Only Sil stood out. What we saw stunned her. Her face turned hostile as she left us. She was initially considered to be thinking. I was worried she might ruin another party for us, but other people talked to me, distracting me. I stood up to help my in-laws carry lunch out, but Rick and my parents told me to stay still. I was sitting quietly waiting for my husband to bring me a dish when Sil smiled at me. She took a platter of food and offered it to me, loudly saying she wanted to feed me because she was so thrilled about my pregnancy. She handed me the plate and said she wanted to apologize for her past rudeness. Nodding, I agreed nicely. After that, she left. I noticed she put shrimp to my dish just before I started eating. Everyone in my family knows I'm allergic to shrimp, so Sil's serving surprised me. Shook my head and got my own meal since I was upset. Jamie then came over to say he was glad I was pregnant. After chatting, I informed him I wasn't hungry. I told Jamie I believed Sil accidentally served me shrimp. He reassured me and took the plate. Apparently he enjoyed shrimp and suggested I buy a new platter. I said goodbye, smiled, and left. Jamie pooped and retched on this plate within 5 minutes. He staggered up and everyone stopped eating out of fear. All eyes were on him. Harry and Kayla worriedly ran to him. Jamie first pointed at his plate, then his throat. It was evident. He got sick from what he ate, which shocked us. Everyone gasped in amazement and anxiety when Jamie passed unconscious. She hurried to see his plate and was horrified. She glanced at me and asked whether I gave her husband my plate. Yes, I said. Someone shouted for aid in the confusion and was brought to the hospital immediately. Kayla kept crying and seemed angry at me. Jamie was poisoned, we learned later. Hearing this almost knocked me out because I always knew the plate was for me, unlike others. Jamie's drug injured me and my kid. I'm keeping this from Harry, Mill, Phil, and my parents. No one knows what in the dish made him pass out while eating. Cops were dispatched to take the food as proof. Jamie is recovering in the hospital after Kayla stayed with him overnight. My husband and I have been receiving calls from family members asking what happened to Jamie and who poisoned him. The occurrence scared. Mill and Phil are terrified to return to their house, so they're staying with us. What occurred so fast while everything was fine? Nobody knows. It'll be embarrassing to say the dish was mine and Kayla brought it to me. I must be honest if the police investigate. I'm sorry for what I did, but my biggest concern is what my Sil might do next, since she's obviously not ashamed of poisoning me. My kids and I prefer not to be near her. AITA for giving Jamie my plate. Maybe sickening my bill? In just a few hours, this post has received so many comments. I never expected so many responses. I couldn't sleep last night since my hands shook while typing. Despite what others say, I feel awful about my bill. Instead of throwing away the dish, I let him take it. I cry often because I fear for him. My husband has been following me because he senses trouble. I don't tell him about his sister, so he thinks I'm scared. I agree I need to calm down and talk to everyone. Phil and Mill have house-wide security cameras. They can verify Kayla's birthday party attendance since it happened in their yard. Gave me that plate. I doubt everyone will believe me. After talking to everyone tonight, I'll provide news. Change 2. We discussed, and I'm grateful for the best-in-laws. Since Mill and Phil are staying with us, why not? I told them I had to discuss something essential at dinner. First, I inhaled deeply. The issue stressed me out. As everyone assembled, I recounted the birthday party. I said Sil brought me a plate of prawns that Jamie ate without realizing and got poisoned. They looked shocked and disbelieving as I spoke, expressing my feelings. Mill and Phil looked worried, while Harry's countenance moved from confused to angry. I persisted, telling Sil I'm afraid of her motives and past hurtful attempts. It scared me to share this information with them because of what it would mean for me and our future child. Mill, being the intelligent woman she was, advised they immediately watch the security camera footage. Phil nodded and understood the situation was serious. Harry was shocked but kept quiet as he processed the terrible news. After viewing their camera app security footage, the truth was revealed. The video showed Sil offering me the poisoned plate and Jamie's outraged reaction. With so much proof, doubt was eliminated. After learning the truth, emotions ran high. Harry struggled to control his wrath after discovering his sister's misdeeds. Mill and Phil were appalled by their daughter's actions. She'd gone so far to stir trouble. We were astonished and couldn't speak since we didn't comprehend why she did it. After discovering this, my in-laws gave this evidence to the police because it is serious. Phil and my husband will meet Jamie after he recovers because he must charge Sil. I don't know Jamie's reaction, and giving him my platter poison makes me cry. My fear about him keeps me from sleeping or eating. I'll notify you of crucial events. Report 3. Hi guys, fresh report. It's been a month since I last wrote, but I'm pregnant and struggling. First things. My in-laws delivered the recording to the police, who arrested her after reviewing the evidence. Kayla fell down in tears and confessed right away. Jamie was as astonished as we were when my husband told her what happened. My husband advised him to charge his sister because what she'd done was so horrible and that he would always be part of our family. Finally, Jamie filed for divorce and charges after recovering. It turns that Kayla is pregnant. She asked them to help her get out of jail by saying their grandchild would benefit. Phil bluntly told her they were done being kind to her and that she needed to take responsibility for her actions. Mill is devastated by her daughter's situation, but she knows Kayla can't be forgiven. The police discovered that she had tampered with the meal to hurt me but hurt her husband instead. She faces charges of food tampering, endangering and injuring others. Jamie didn't listen to her plea that this was all my fault anyway and charged her. Still planned to punish her. Her court date is approaching. I doubt she'll escape this time. For anyone curious, my son and I are fine. His aunt's actions are unknown. Harry and I have discussed these issues and plan to sit down with our son to tell him the truth. I know it's hard to tell a child, but it's crucial. To monitor my pregnancy, my doctor recommends ultrasounds every 2 weeks. We don't want to know the baby's gender since we want a boy. Surprise. Since Kayla's incident, they've been wary of me. They want me to go to therapy because they worry about my mental health while pregnant. I agree since, even though I act consistently, Kayla's actions have made me frightened of eating anything other than what I produced or bought. My hubby always supports me, so I hope I can overcome this ridiculous anxiety soon. Update 8 months since my last post. Kayla is serving time in prison. Claims against her were confirmed. My in-laws sometimes attended her court dates and informed me Kayla told the judge she was envious of me for years since she never wanted a stranger to marry her brother. She always wanted one of her best friends to marry my husband, so she picked on me when he dated others. She was jealous when we informed her we were expecting at my husband's birthday party since she was going to tell everyone she was. Since she had lost before, she wanted to share us her good news, but she felt like we stole her chance. She stated pregnant hormones drove her crazy, so she combined rat poison with my food. She said she just wanted me in the hospital and never meant to injure me or the baby. No, she didn't think I would offer my plate to her husband, and that I poisoned him, therefore she should get a reduced sentence. Naturally, the judge ignored her pleadings. She went to prison and will be gone for a while. She parted with Jamie, freeing him too. We've met him over the months and still invite him to family functions. I apologized for offering him my plate while we spoke. He said it wasn't my fault. I kept replaying the scene, hoping I could have done anything different. Protect him from poisoning. I cried hearing that. Jamie's improved health is great. Harry and I had a daughter. Though the past is still fresh in our minds, our daughter has brought us warmth and happiness. Our son Nate loves being a big brother and has been treating his sister well. When our kids bond, we feel blessed. My parents and in-laws have supported us throughout this new chapter.